everybody, this is Perch, and I want to talk about the controversy around Shang Chi, I guess. Depending on I don't know what. Um, but uh, there's an interesting debate slash fight slash like holy war going on around the box office numbers for Shang Chi. And what I don't understand is why anyone particularly cares. Now, I want to preface this by saying there is most likely some backstory somewhere. I see a lot of people yelling about it, different people, in many cases, kind of throwing rocks around. And I posted something innocuous on social media, which is just another indication that the time for that platform and me is about over. But I basically said it looks like, based on projections, and in this case, I'm going to a site called Box Office Mojo, which I like. That's a good site. They put up numbers that are relatively unvarnished and unfiltered. They do analysis on those numbers, but they also just show you the numbers. So you can go there and you can kind of do you want, and you can make some of your own assessments. And a lot of people, when they're talking about box office projections, how much a movie's going to make, a lot of people have different mechanisms they use. Some people use the third week indicator, which is a way of calculating the percentage of drop off at the third week to determine longevity. Other people use the Thursday model. There's a bunch of different approaches people use. The great part about I like about Box Office Mojo is that they put up the numbers and you can use whatever model you feel like. And you can go to their site and actually show you the different models, and you can choose to use them or not use them. They talk about where sometimes they're accurate, sometimes they're not, but you get the raw data. You can kind of form your own conclusion. And I like that a lot better than, Newsarama or Screen Rant or any of the cosmic book news. I mean, any of the millions of sites that like to basically, I think, formulate a story and then they bend the data around that story. It basically, the data, the actual information becomes irrelevant. Because here's the crazy part, is data is unemotional. You can certainly manipulate it, play with it, and do what you want with it. But at the end of the day, sometimes data will be your friend, sometimes data will not be your friend. And it doesn't care. It's not out to be your friend, it's just giving you information. And what you do with it is the spin and the manipulation. And I think over certainly the last 10 years, there's been a lot more refinement about how to manipulate data. We see it with comic books where it becomes look, the comic book industry is growing. Yes, we've added in manga and scholastic stuff, which we didn't do before. So it's growing. And it's like, well, you're showing me different data and you're painting a picture. But really, at the end of the day, when you look at this, what people want to do is to be able to say the comic industry is growing, just like other people want to say the comic industry is failing and imploding. They come up with that story first, and then they look at the data and they try and figure out how to cherry pick the data points they want in order to fit the story that they have. And more people need to be cognizant of the fact that this is going on. And this is, by the way, a great reason why it's important to have data news sources that are different. I saw, who was it? I think it was Eric Larson talking. No, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I may not be crediting this to the right person, but Comic Pro comes out and says, I don't watch any news that isn't on MSNBC. That's the only news I watch. And the rest are all biased. It's like, okay. But by going to one single source, you are signing on to be manipulated by whatever MSNBC wants to promote. Same thing is true of Fox, Newsmax, CNN, I don't know, go down the line. Everybody has a point of view. If you go to Bleeding Cool, if you go to Bleeding Fool, if you go to Newsarama, if you go to CBR, if you go to Bounding Into Comics, any of those sites, there is a point of view that the site runners have. And then the information kind of is structured to fit that point of view. And that doesn't mean you should ignore it. But what it does mean is that you're going to be happier, healthier if you pick a couple different sites that are diametrically opposed to each other, and you just teach yourself to look for the commonality. You teach yourself to look for the data. That's just a good thing to do. We're encouraged to pick a tribe and go all in with that tribe, but we get dumber when we do that. There's no better way to put it. If you are looking at only one source of information, then you're going to start writing insane things and saying insane things and doing insane things because you're getting only one point of view always. And it teaches you to stop thinking for yourself and basically go with, whatever that site is telling you to think, which is dumb and dangerous. Anyway, what's the deal with Shang-Chi? Well, I posted that based on the projections, based on this raw data, it's likely to be the strongest of the three Marvel movies. Now, that's a bit of guesswork on my part. It is. And the two other Marvel movies are Black Widow, which we have data for, and Eternals, which we have no data for. Now, my prediction has been for some time that Shang-Chi was going to be the most successful of those three. And I say that for kind of very boring reasons, reasons that are not woke or anti-woke or any of that kind of nonsense. I say it because Shang-Chi had at least some hints of tying into the greater Marvel Universe. That's what the Marvel Universe buyers, the normies, the common people, whatever it happens to be, that's what they like. That's what they like out of the MCU. They like these connections. They like these ties. And so Shang-Chi appears to be the one that's going to tie the most. Eternals has kind of said it's going to do a lot of its own thing. Black Widow was prequel and she's dead. So, where does that fit in exactly? So I think that's where I made my guess from. Now, looking at the box office returns, looks like Shang-Chi is going to do the best out of those. Why do I say that? Well, it broke some Labor Day weekends. Granted, Labor Day is not a strong movie weekend, and we're in a pandemic, but still, strength is strength, and that's fine. It also, at least from the initial buys from theaters, it looks like it's going to be in the theaters for a while. Now, granted, not a lot is coming out for the theaters, so we're in an interesting time. It's fun to guess at these things. It's fun to make these kinds of predictions and maybe be horribly wrong because, what else do we got to do? So that's my prediction. Apparently, that was a controversial prediction, but I don't know why. And here's where maybe somebody wants to explain it to me. I've not been following the whatever is going on with this movie that's got people pissed off. I heard that the main actor is advocating for Korean rights. I guess he was upset with how Kim's Convenience ended in the show he was on, and he was advocating for more Korean representation. Is that what everybody's pissed about? I don't know. Is it that this movie may or may not be playing to China? Frankly, all the movies are, but is that why? I don't know. But for whatever reason, that's a controversial hot take to say that Shang-Chi is going to make money. Now, what's interesting is Shang-Chi is not going to make Black Panther money. It's not going to make Captain Marvel money. I think it will be lucky if it makes $500 million. Again, that's a guess. I think it's only a crazy person would say it will make $1 billion in today's current environment with movies and distribution, people going to screens. There's just not, in this time of when the movie comes out, no way it's going to get to $1 billion. I think very unlikely it gets to $500 million. That puts it at the low end of the MCU. Absolutely true. However, Black Widow is absolutely going to be at the low end. Disney is trying to do this thing where they kind of are calculating some of the streaming numbers, and they're doing it in a really wacky way, and they're taking both the Premier Access plus the month subscription as part of the total, which adds another $6. They're doing some shenanigans with the numbers. Why they're doing that, I have no idea. Maybe because they sense an impending lawsuit with Scarlett Johansson. I don't know. But regardless, it goes to say, at this point in anything fandom related, we're just going to argue about everything. Is that where we're at right now? I don't know why Shang-Chi is remotely controversial about anything. It's a movie. I said I saw it. Wasn't a particularly good movie. Wasn't the worst movie. It was just kind of there. I'm waiting to go into one of these movies and be like, holy shit, that's a wonderful movie. I'm waiting for that moment. And I haven't hit it yet. I didn't hit it with Black Widow. I didn't even hit it with Suicide Squad. A lot of people love Suicide Squad. It was fine. I was entertained. I enjoyed myself. But these movies are not, like, nothing is nothing is blowing me away right now with movies, and hopefully there's something coming that will do that. It's been just a long time, but I find this whole kind of world of this need to bend facts around, this need to be right about things that have no bearing on right and wrong. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, if Shang Chi made zero money or made billions of dollars, it really is somewhat irrelevant if you hated it or loved it. It doesn't matter. The financial success of this movie does not matter to you. And I think that that's something that comic fans in particular, I mean, all entertainment fans, we've got to start to grapple with in a more meaningful way. If Captain Marvel, the comic book, honestly became the number one selling comic of Marvel, selling 300,000 copies a month, who cares? That shouldn't bother a single person. If you hate that comic, it is irrelevant to you unless you own stock in Disney, unless you're financially tied to it some way. It doesn't matter. And by the way, the same thing goes the other direction. I do find it nutty that people will defend, like, books like X Factor before it was canceled, or Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel as the best comic out, even though the sales aren't there. Again, if you enjoy it, enjoy it. Like, this need to want hard data to match your emotions is bizarre behavior, and everybody does it. Not just the one side. Everybody does it. Look at this Shang-Chi battle is truly weird to me. Again, I don't see the point of it. I don't see what the end game is from it. None of it makes any sense. That, I mean, do what? It's who cares? Who cares? And if you actually watch this movie, it's not good enough to matter. It's not really bad enough to matter either. It's kind of nothing. It's just there. You watch it, maybe you're entertained, maybe you're not. You go on with your life. This warfare over this movie is weird. And I keep trying to figure out again, why do people care? And I keep getting answers like, well, because Disney keeps going with the woke advertising. I'm like, okay, but still, why? Again, who cares? They could be going with that, not going with that. Still doesn't change the data. It still doesn't change whether you liked it or not. I mean, is the problem that we don't want things like that to be successful? Anything that goes against what we like, just we don't want it to be successful at all. I mean, I guess I get the base emotion of that, but it's still weird. Anyway, did you watch Shang-Chi? Shang-Chi? Did you like it? Hate it? Do you care? I mean, I'm looking for the people who care, actually cared about the movie. I don't know if there's that many of those people. That's the thing. Anyway, all weird. I'm missing something here because, man, people are pissed off about this. I just not get it. Thanks for listening.